Good.
Yeah. You need to make some grown man moves. How you gonna grow when you don't pay dues? It's a time to be lit and it's a time to be cool. I know you're watching them, but what about you? You need to make some grown man moves. How you gonna grow if you don't pay dues? It's a time to be lit and it's a time to be cool. I know you're watching them, but what about you? I'm more than grown, I'm legit older. My mind is sharp, but my metabolism's a bit slower. I raised my conscience from when it was lower. Now I'm aligned with that to do of reaches and lowers. My kingdom is here until that kingdom that comes, and singing in drums. I praise my ancestors till I'm one with them. Grays in my beard. I remember these were the days that I feared. It's all good though, cause what's good to know I'm in a better chapter. And it's gonna stay that way till here on after. The angels celebrate my life like fans cheering in the rafters. And I appreciate every little thing like children's laughter. Keeping my heart light is a major part of life. Dark and light reminds me of what making artists like, cause art is life. And mine's a masterpiece. Now that I'm at an age where I'm master, you need to make some grown man moves. How you gonna grow when you don't pay dues? There's a time to be lit and there's a time to be cool. I know you're watching them, but what about you? You need to make some grown man moves. How you gonna grow when you don't pay dues? There's a time to be lit and there's a time to be cool. I know you're watching them, but what about you?
With less piss and vinegar in our system, we care to a tribe called quest by instincts and rhythm. Speaking in tongues to natives, where I'm from, it's heard over drums in the basement. Where I'm from, if I let the world tell it, I'll be less than a man. Not worth the breath of God, let alone an excellent plan. Let them tell it, the blood in my eyes, they from my crown of thorns. I felt that sky is the limit to the ground I'm on. There's ashes, there's fire, there's the phoenix, a black soul sample, remastered and remixed like the writer of a screenplay that knows how this ends. Rose-colored lenses on the nose bridge of hell. I seen it like a 27-inch Zenith. My life's a queen, not a prima donna or a diva. I'm an emperor, some would say a kingmaker. Blinkers on while you rockin' shotgun.
You need to make some grown man moves. How you gonna grow when you don't pay dues? There's a time to be lit and there's a time to be cool. I know you're watching them, but what about you? You need to make some grown man moves. How you gonna grow when you don't pay dues? There's a time to be lit and there's a time to be cool. I know you're watching them, but what about you? You need to make some grown man moves. How you gonna grow if you don't pay dues? There's a time to be lit, it's time to be cool. I know you're watching them, but what about you? You need to make some grown man moves. How you gonna grow if you don't pay dues? There's a time to be lit, it's time to be cool. I know you're watching them, but what about you?
ET Unk in my eye. Back again. Let me know who am I talking to and where you're from. Y'all know the protocol. Peace to the righteous and respectable chat. Asar, Amin Ra, Dallas, Texas in the house. Get my eye and tattoo below. T. Cobbin from Flint, Michigan. That's right, grown man moves. Newbie second car, Ra, get my eye. Where you from, Newbie? I think ain't you local? Malik from New Haven. Wabet Shamset from Connecticut. Portia Lakey from Westfield, New Jersey. Okay, Yuri from Brazil. Kitty from Citrus Hill. I'll be rhyming, bars. So that music is from the latest project called Ride and Vibe Volume 1. You can get it on Bandcamp for the Big Chief Solo Rod Bandcamp. Check it out. More to come. Okay, got Philadelphia, PA. Is that Niet from PA?
That might have been, I don't know.
I think it's Ali Celeste or All
No, that's
Celeste.
not her. Yes, that's Niet.
Alright, Niet from PA. I think that's about it, so I guess we get started. So we'll start with the opening. Amatu Panetir, Sawek Tuamentin Panetir, Au Dwalma Keti Pa Heru. We give homage. Give yourself to Nets Daily. Keep yourself in Nets Daily. And may tomorrow be as today, and we'll be in Russia. So we give homage to the Creator, who is like our Father and who is like our Mother, who is everything that we can perceive and everything that we cannot perceive, who is everything yet is no thing, who comes to us in the form of the Neturu Ra, who is the light of the heavens, light of the inner planes, as well as the light of our lives, who shines the light for us on the path of Ma'achi, which is the path of truth, justice, righteousness, and harmonious balance, who comes to us in the form of the light of vitality, giving us the strength and the endurance to live and act upon that which we know to be true. Homage to you, the one who shines in and through us as a beacon of light for those who are blind to the facts of their place, their position, and their responsibilities in the divine scheme of things. May we be Ma'akiru, true of thought, word, and deed, to our highest reality, and in our moments of crises in the dark nights of the soul when it appears that everyone and everything else has let us down. So it is, and so shall it be. Everyone say, Amen Ma'at. I see people are still checking in. We got the DMV. We got Master Jasmine from Massachusetts. We gotta give these places some comedic names. But okay, let's start. So as we mentioned last week, Hemet is taking her much needed and much well-earned sabbatical, and I want everybody to keep her in light and elevation in this challenging time of hers. And since today we'll be speaking about ancestral treason, we gotta be aware when people are going through, those amongst ourselves, when we're going through difficult times, there are nefarious people in our community that try to actually use your down cycle to cause harm. As we saw this summer with foolish people over the summer, as well as the past years, those who we thought was our brothers and sisters, those who we thought were kin, because we practice the same tradition and we use the same foundational fundamental teachings. Some people wish us harm, consciously as well as unconsciously, directly as well as indirectly. Some people wish to stop us directly as well as indirectly. It's unfortunate that some people feel like we have to be stopped or harmed just in order for them to feel good about themselves or their contribution. And it's all good. It is what it is. They do what they do. However, on this side, we do what it is that we do to also. So according to our tradition, we pray for our leadership. We protect our leadership. We keep our leadership in elevation. So if you want to join me real quick, I ask everyone to sit up and just breathe in. As you breathe in, I want you to visualize our beloved Hemet, and before or as you breathe out, infuse her with power, protection, healing, and light. So here we go as one community, one mind, and so it is. Breathe in, infuse light, love, power, protection. Simple as that. Doesn't take any energy expenditure from you. So as we are aware that in this world there's a lot of isfet and negativity projected into the universe, instead for us over here, we'll translate it as power, protection, respect, love, and abundant success. So now with that being said, Yiti and welcome to the Kemmunion experience. I'm your host, Nasib Biddy Ross Ankul Kepper, Chief and Head Priest of the Temple of Anu at the realm, at the helm. And I got by my side, we got sort of Chef Armin Cal. Ma'aker is on rest duty today also. So, as you know, we're going to continue our discussions about the results of my study and my research over our ancestral traditions. And as I peruse them, and I try to always stay tapped in and give you a modern application of ancient wisdom. And I keep coming across a saying, it's a modern saying, it is, if it doesn't apply, let it fly. I think most people heard of that. If it doesn't apply, let it fly. And it reminds me of something that my teacher taught me. And my teacher is Infidisi Jahuti Mus Hassan Kamal Salim, just in case those don't know. He said tradition is good, but tradition must be based on reason. Tradition must be ran by and through our filters of reason. Because right now it's 2023 and we don't have the time, or we can't afford to fill our lives with a bunch of ritualism just under the premise that our ancestors did it. Now, to respect of our ancestors, they had specific reasons and meanings why they did what it is that they did. One of them was locale, their location. Another was their connection to nature and its relationship to its locale. Another is their geopolitical position as a sovereign nation. What does geopolitical mean? Geo means earth, their worldly position. Government is the science, or politics is the science of government. So their worldly way that they chose to govern themselves. And they brought it all together with mythology. And mythology is an eccentric blend of history, folklore, metaphysics, ritual, and science. So they brought it all together like that. So when we talking about a geopolitical political sovereign nation, it means they did what they thought made sense to them without feeling like they had to explain themselves to anyone else in the world. So we go back to it. Tradition must be based on reason. So respectfully, we can take what is useful and helpful to us, and as well as respectfully, we could discard what is not useful or helpful to us. For some reason, that bothers a lot of people. Some people, it bothers them that we're not an exact carbon copy of everything our ancestors did. And I keep telling you, remember, it was a different locale, a different connection to nature of that locale. And at that point in time, they were a sovereign nation. So we're then in captivity over here. So we're not in the same condition. So our expression is not going to be identical with the ancients in that sense. For instance, we got the brother Yuri over in Brazil. He's on, he made himself known. For instance, he's very fond of us. Me and him had conversations. He wanted us to start a chapter over there in Brazil. He said our brothers and sisters in Brazil are very fond of us Africans in America as we practice the legacy. And they're trying to align themselves with how we practice the legacy, which is very interesting. So we're over here in the Northeast America. We're over here in New Jersey, and we're about to go into the winter season. As we go into the winter season, we're going to start wearing our jackets and our scarves and our hats, and that's totally not relevant to brother Yuri over there in Brazil. They have different seasons. Their weather is different over there, but he might find in his heart, he's like, oh, that looks cool what they're doing. I'm going to get the hat and scarves also, even though it's not practical for him to have the hat and scarf over there in Brazil. But Yuri is a grown man and he could do what he likes. He could go online and he could order the scarves and things like that as he continues to build rapport with us. And we look at him and we look at his people over there and we start building a rapport or a liking to them over there. That's how it works in the ancestral traditions. Even if you're not part of that tradition by blood, the more you align and the more you get rapport with that tradition, the spirits of that tradition begin to gain an affinity for you. But remember, we're over here in North America. We're influenced by 4 seasons: winter, summer, spring, and fall. So what am I saying? I'm saying we are following the same principles as our ancestors, even though the cultural expression may vary due to our regions, but we're still doing the same thing. So when we say if it doesn't apply, let it fly, that means we have to apply critical thinking when we're looking at our tradition. When I look at some of the conversations that's going on now, especially the current conversations that's going on now, people are acting like none of it applies. So nothing applies, so everybody is just going their own way. And that's a contradiction to all of the work and all of the study and all the research that's been brought to the forefront for the past 50 years. And that's what separates Temple of Anu from a lot of other people that are talking the talk. We're actually walking the walk. Because we have that spiritual genetic marker to figure things out. Because some people are just doing stuff because the ancestors are doing it, or some people feel, well, because of the interruption of slavery, we all messed up in the game. But you have to have that genetic marker to figure stuff out, just like the ancestors figured stuff out. That is the essence of African culture, to figure stuff out, not just to do stuff that other people done. So we can merge both together, so we can honor what was done before us, but you cannot hit this wall and act like you can't figure it out. We have genius inside of us. We're built to figure things out. We're built to work things out. So at this point, I have to say, big up to all of the people that practice their indigenous culture. I don't care if you're Jewish, I don't care if you're Hebrew, Israelite, Moor, all of that. Big up to those people. Because we're living in very interesting times where, because you align yourself with culture and tradition, you have to go through ridicule. You have to go through being ostracized. People don't like the way you dress. They don't like the symbols that you wear. They say you're wearing funny hats and all of these things like this. We're constantly put in this position as initiates and practitioners of the legacy. We're constantly being put in the position that the uninitiated feel that they have to keep telling us that they're unimpressed with us. Isn't that the dialogue that's going on when you look at online? Everybody's a know-it-all, and they like to poke fun at people that are in line with certain traditions as though they're superior. But when you look at the people that practice their tradition, they have a healthier sense of family. They have a healthier sense of unity. A lot of the people that practice these traditions have, they've been successful in incremental generational wealth in comparison to the ones that's bragging about not being so-called tied down to anything. So we have to deal with the 500-pound elephant in the room. And the 500-pound elephant in the room is that we're not impressed with them either. Well, since they left the Judeo-Christian religion and they chose not to be initiated in any of the indigenous system, remember that was supposed to be the whole thing. We were supposed to have felt some sort of way that we were misled into these other traditions that weren't ours. So when you got freed to those, you're supposed to get back into your indigenous traditions. But I'm saying I'm not impressed with any of those individuals that's left those other traditions but haven't re-initiated into any of the African systems. They're no better off than those that's practicing the systems. They've actually been re-influenced, reinfected, and reinducted back into white supremacy talking points. They're actually leading and trying to make it seem like vice is virtue. They're leading us right back into the vices that it took so long for us to overcome. And that's why we got to talk about ancestral treason. What is ancestral treason? Treason has two definitions. One definition is to go against one's country. The next definition is to go against the king, or to kill the king, or to kill the sovereign. Now let's replace a couple words. Let's interchange a couple words. To go against one's own country. So let us replace that with to go against one's own culture. And what about the second definition? To go against or to kill the king or the sovereign. To go against or to kill the ancestors. To go against the ancestors or to kill the ways of the ancestors. That would be ancestral treason. So I hear people with some of the things that they say, they have very anti-African sentiment. So now a lot of people want to entertain the idea that they come from over here in the Americas, and there may be some truth to that. But you can't say that this whole 400 years we've been over here in America, you have none of your people, none of your families on either side have have intermixed with any other people in the Americas that has African ancestry. The point I'm making is if you identify with indigenous, you can't have anti-African sentiment because most likely you have some of that in your genetics. All you have to do is take a DNA test. So if you're aligning with the indigenous thing and you have an anti-African sentiment, that is a form of ancestral treason. Same with the people that's pro-African. If you're pro-African, you can't deny people, excuse me, that has proven their ancestry, some of their ancestry is from over here also. So it goes both ways with the ancestral treason. Listen to the sentiment of some of the things that's going on in the conversation. One prominent member of the community, he said, you gotta watch those cats with the funny hats, they're weirdos. He was talking about people like us who dress in traditional clothing, who wear the traditional African hats and stuff. He calls us weirdos because within the past 5 years, several prominent figures that happened to align themselves to the Kemetic teachings in the Kemetic traditions, they have fallen and gotten themselves into some type of debacle and lost honor. So he's taking these people and he wants to put that on all of us as a community, and he wants to say the cats with the funny hats is weirdos. I told you gotta watch those people. So I typed back in and I said, so, because this person wears a baseball cap, I say, is the baseball cap any more relevant than a traditional African cap? Are you to tell me that the people that follow Western culture and Western traditions are more righteous and ethical than people that practice African traditional systems? Are you telling me people who wear baseball caps, they come in an image like them, they haven't inflicted violence, they haven't performed great, y'all know what I'm talking about, all these terrible things that you're making it appear that people who wear traditional garments do. And if we want to go further into that metaphor, let's do the math. So in the past 10 years, there may be 4 or 5 that's fallen amongst people that's been trying to use African symbolism and things like that. But in the past 5 years, if you've been paying attention, how many that come in the form of the baseball caps and all of this nonsense that African Americans now align themselves to, how many of them have been indicted in jail for the same reasons? I bet you there's way more people in jail that's like them on the other side than there is people like us. It's kind of like comparing the pharmaceutical industry to the natural health industry. There's no comparison. You see sometimes when you try to get into the health thing, you're taking supplements, and it's foolish people, hey, you got to watch all that natural stuff. You got to watch what you're putting in your body. You like it's natural foods. It tends to work in alignment with the body. It's little to no negative effects unless you have some type of allergic reaction. You're telling me I have to be worried about natural health, herbs, and vitamins, but over-the-counter medicine, monthly, 52,000 people a year die a month of over-the-counter medication. You trying to compare it to natural health? 52,000 people a month die from self-medicating from over-the-counter medication. Yearly, 300,000 to 500,000 people die from prescription medication. Those are war numbers, 52,000. I mean, it's weird when they say the planet is overpopulated. How is it overpopulated when 52,000 people are dying just off of over-the-counter medication? Never mind the people that's dying off of diabetes, high blood pressure, and the rest of the illnesses. There can't possibly be too many people on the planet. So these are war-like numbers just over-the-counter medication, 52,000 people a month. Remember back several years ago when 3,000 people died in Chicago or whatever, and people were like, oh, this is getting out of control. So still, just with pharmaceutical drugs, 52,000 a month are dying, 300 to 500,000 a year are dying with prescription medications. That's called iatrogenic death. That means death by doctors. And those with baseball caps that make fun of people who wear traditional garments, that's called ancestral treason. Remember, ancestral treason is to go against one's culture and to go against one's ancestors. So Remember, over the summer they was making fun of us wearing ankhs. Some of these same people wear ankhs on their baseball cap. They got their little wooden ankhs that they wear around their necks. They got their ankhs on their t-shirts. So what is this really about? Are they upset that we're just flyer with our ankhs? We created ceremony on how we bestow the ankhs, and to do it ceremoniously is more aligned with our ancestors than to just put it on a baseball cap unceremoniously, put it on a wooden chain unceremoniously, wear it on a t-shirt unceremoniously. So to poke fun at the ceremonial initiating of the ankh would be ancestral treason. Remember, back to the white. We've shown and proven that our ancestors wore white for ceremonial reasons, psychological reasons, spiritual reasons. So to poke fun at any of us that's doing things like what it is that we do, that's ancestral treason. If you notice, many of their talking points is just like white supremacy, by calling ancestral traditions pseudo, by calling it spooky, by calling it unscientific. Once again, these are all treasonous sentiments. These are treasonous statements. So we're not gonna do what we're not gonna do. We're not gonna be begging for respect. We're not even gonna be asking for respect. By doing what it is that we do, just on the strength of doing what it is that we do, that demands respect. So here we are in 2023, we're at this crossroads where something significant has to change. We have to now make an unpopular decision to separate ourselves from even those of our own people in our own community. Our relationships have become toxic. We cannot entertain relationships with people that's defaming our reputation and undermining our whole purpose in life, all just because we got the same black skin. Our ancestors were very serious. They didn't play with the concept of treason. So we can no longer align or fraternize with people that are too comfortable with their ancestral treason and too comfortable with leading with disrespect. And we're not going to act like what it is that we do with this communion and what is the Shrine of Ma'at does with the Kemetic Ascension. We're not going to act like this thing of ours is not mutually beneficial. Once again, the communion and the Kemetic Ascension is mutually beneficial. It is your job to give donations to the institutions that support your growth. It is your job, it is your charge and your responsibility to get us all in a better position for us to help you. So how is it beneficial to you? It is beneficial to you because we specialize in giving you the mindset and the mind frame by way of this legacy, because for the past 50 years, you all dared to claim to want to be great by this legacy. And we've been consistent with holding down our part with all of this. It reminds me of a quote from Ankh Shashanki. Hold on real quick. You got the Husia. It's page 65. Paragraph 3. It's the second part of paragraph 3. When one instructs a fool, he or she says what they are doing insults me. I just went through that explaining, our justification in wearing traditional clothing, our justification with the ceremonial ankhs, our justification with the ceremonial white. So we do this, we took our time, and we try to explain this to our community, and they still want to ridicule us. And that's the same as them saying what you're doing insults me. The friend of a fool is a fool. The friend of the wise person is another wise person. If you're given bread for being stupid, you may learn to despise instruction. Although the way of the divine is before all people, the fool cannot find it. That's powerful. Essentially, our tradition is Ma'at. Now I know people know what Ma'at is truth, justice, righteousness, harmony, order, balance, and reciprocity. We call the 7 cardinal principles. But in its fundamental breakdown, Ma'at is the right measure of things. So when we look at what we spoke about, the mythology is a centric blend of history, mythology, metaphor, metaphysics, as well as science. So we have the right and the ability to add to the mythology, add to the scientific knowledge that our ancestors have. So it's about having the right measure psychologically, the right measure of things spiritually, the right measure of things physically, the right measure of things culturally. In our tradition, we say righteousness is respect for the divine. So if you have the right measure of things, that is the respect for the divine. And it also says somewhere in the text, it says, your righteousness shall be your protection. Ma'at shall be your protection. The right measure of things shall be your protection. So if you have the right measure of things, it's not to say you won't get sick. It's not saying that you won't go through hardships or hard times. You just won't go through them and process them and filter them like everybody else. You have a different filter. So when your filter is aligned with respecting the divine, your righteousness, your balance, your right measure of things becomes your protection. So I'm saying this in the same spirit that I was speaking about last time. It's time to pull things in. Everybody had a good 3-year break, but I've seen people relinquish their righteousness. I've seen people relinquish their pride and culture. I've seen people take off their garments and no longer representing their garments. I've seen people cut their locks. I've seen people, they're just indulging. It's almost like everybody wants to be regular now, all under the premise of I put me first. And I get it. That's true, but it's true with a small t, not true with a capital T. You have to find the balance of putting yourself first in your individualism and connect it to how does it benefit us as a whole. Our ancestors understood that sentiment. For instance, if you remember Shaka Zulu, if Shaka Zulu put himself first, and because he put himself first, he stood out, he contrasted himself from a lot of other people in the Zulu history. Matter of fact, you don't know no other name about the Zulu outside of Shaka Zulu. That's how much he put himself first. That's how much he stood out. But he raised the Zulu army and they caused much havoc to them Europeans to the point where the Europeans have much respect of the Zulu army to this day because Shaka Zulu stood out as an individual, but it elevated his tribe. They went from obscurity to the tribe in South Africa. So that right there is an example how you could still be an individual, but you elevate the culture also. Same with a lot of indigenous societies. A lot of indigenous societies, everybody will have to go through rites of passage. For instance, take a male or a man that has to go through rites of passage. They have to train in martial arts. They have to train in herbs, medicines, magic. They have to train in hunting because a lot of our traditions and a lot of our people come from hunter-gatherer societies. So now you have individuals that have to go provide food for the tribe. Now, certain individuals, they'll apply that training that all the rest of the males or the rest of the men had, and they'll go out and they'll get the biggest game and they'll come back to the community. And they've contrasted and distinguished themselves as an individual because this individual got the biggest game. And that made him stand out and like, wow, I seen what the other ones came back, but he came back with a whole deer or he came back with a whole lion. And that contrasted him from everybody else, but he's still part of the same tribe, but he brought the game back for the tribe. So although he stood out as he or she stood out as an individual, it was all about the elevation of the tribe, the nation. I hope y'all understand that sentiment. So we have to pull it back in and get back on code. People just got too comfortable with being regular and falling into other people's conversational talking points. We are not a broken people. We are not a fallen people. We're not even unique in being down at this point. When you study Kemet had intermediate periods. So what happens? What an intermediate period is a period of time with no clear leadership. So it tends to be a time of chaos. So what happened? They had a first intermediate period, and they got this stuff together, and they came back again. And then that waned. Then there was a second intermediate period. There was no clear leadership. Things fell into chaos, and they got it back in together again and rose the empire. So we're not unique And we're not unique in our struggle and our position right now. Our ancestors been here before. Even the best of our ancestors been in a very similar situation or circumstance that we're in currently. The ones over here as well as the ones on the continent. So you fall and you get it back together. So you had an intermediate period and then you come with another kingdom. That for whatever reason that falls, you come back with another kingdom. So we are not a broken people. We're not a fallen people. What we are people in between building kingdoms. So we have to start reframing everything. We're on top of everything. So nothing puts us down. We're not down. We're not broken. We're not fallen. We are our ancestors. We are the current manifestation of our ancestors. So we're in the intermediate period about to build the kingdom again. So we're never down. We're always up as long as you stay conscious. So as long as you do everything in proper measure. And that's my message for today. It's a lot that got said, and go back and listen to it again. Ancestral treason is to go against your culture, and it is to go against your ancestors. Look at the conversation that's going on now. Look at everybody's posts. Look at everybody's clowning. And you'll see that there's a lot of ancestral treason going on. And make sure you're not one of those, because we have to start cutting toxic relationships with people that's too comfortable in dwelling in that ancestral treason. And we're not tolerating disrespect anymore. And I'm speaking for us as Kemites as the Kemetic tier of the conscious community. So let us move forward in power and precision to be impactful in the most powerful and impactful way. So I thank you. Those you want to give donations, hit the Temple Cash App, $ Temple of Anu, or hit us up at the PayPal. And I thank you all for your time, and I hope you all have a powerful and prosperous day. Do I mention?